chilling with Adam, yeah, I'm just chilling with Adam, I'm just chilling with Adam, look, that's the host Adam, I'm just chilling with Adam.
Here we go. Should I do my intro? I don't know. I never do my intro anymore. I had like a specific podcast intro, No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. I used to say that every single time.
Did you start to doubt yourself?
I just don't know what the fuck
intro.
I'm doing.
Do the intro.
It got, okay, No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. It got all fucked up because I started just like cutting clips. I'm like doing these like separate like clickbait clips.
Yeah.
And putting those out there as like these separate things. And then it started, and doing these like 8-hour live streams.
Yeah.
Where like the line between what is an interview and what is me just talking to somebody for a little bit kind of got blurred, and then, you know, I feel like
I'm less professional. I've only interviewed people on my show that I do not a lot of research on. I mean, it's kind of this where I'm like, I try to just do podcasts and interview people who it's pretty much just the recording of us becoming friends.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like I did some guy's podcast today and he was like, he watched like 3 of my interviews and he's like, I do research because if I don't do the research, he said, I think it's disrespectful for the guest. And I was like, bad news, dude. I didn't do dick. I didn't do any research. And I was like, I feel like an asshole. But no. I mean, I just like being surprised.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's more like when I used to do like bullshit political interviews and I would just have my questions there and it would just be like, tell me about the time, and then you know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
You're just baiting them into shit, and I don't know.
Over researching is definitely something that I think about a lot. Like I have this memory of watching your Joe Rogan interview. But then, you know, when you're watching a Joe Rogan interview and you don't really have any skin in the game, it's kind of like easy to not really like, you know, put too much into it. You know,
Totally.
I enjoyed it and everything, but you know, today I watched like the first hour again.
Yeah.
But then like at the same time, it's like I was thinking that before it. I'm like, is it important that I watch this? Because really, I'm not doing my interview for people who already watched that interview like immediately before this. If anything, I'm doing it for an audience that doesn't know anything about that. So maybe I should just, you know, sort of be learning in the process as well.
Dude, it's so fun. It's always the talented people too who overthink everything.
Right.
And then it's the fucking garbage people that are like, I was gonna go fucking jerk off and do my own thing because I'm the best, and then they get $1 billion.
Right. Well, you know, the problem is that in music, you pretty much exclusively are interviewing like egomaniacs who believe that like the whole world should be familiar with their catalog.
Oh, great news to my audience. I fucking hate myself. I tried to kill myself last year. I like fucked it up. Like the only reason I'm not dead is because I was like, I had a breakdown where like I was like, I did a bunch of research and I found out that the best way to do it was don't do it. That's the best way, guys. Don't kill yourself.
Trigger warning. We're about to discuss how to kill yourself.
Yeah, trigger warning. A gun. Is they were like, hang yourself, right? I also like when I think about it, I don't know who wrote these reviews. It's not like you can like Yelp it. Like,
right.
It's like it's not like if their friend like hung themselves in the casket, he's given like a thumbs up or like an A-OK sign. But whatever. It just seemed like hanging was the least scary option. And so like I went and I bought all the shit. And I was like looking up how to tie the knot properly, and like I got kicked out of Boy Scouts, man. Like out of Cub Scouts, where I just realized I can't tie the knot properly, and I just had a fucking breakdown where like when you realize you are too much of a fuck up to kill yourself, like I would be the guy who like fell through his own noose and like broke both of his legs and then had to get in like a wheelchair and like unsuccessfully wheel himself into traffic. Like that would be it would be like a sadder Groundhog's Day.
I remember hearing about dudes who were on they were on death row and they try to like swan dive into the concrete and fuck it up.
But they just like paralyze himself.
I mean, then what? You got like a crazy ass like concussion, head injury. It's like you're like, my life is now much worse. They're gonna keep me handcuffed to this bed and stuff.
That's kind of where I was at.
Okay, so how low did you go that you actually wanted to end it all? Because I feel like it's a common theme in like human life, but I have never really thought about it.
Okay, so I feel like here's my theory on what pushes people over the edge, because you know I've like battled with depression like my whole life and stuff like that. And
can we take 1 second? Just say your Twitter for the people, just so that they know, because I'm sure a lot of them right now are like, who the fuck is this guy? I want to look him up.
Who is the fucking guy talking about killing himself?
Right.
It's at Jamie Kilstein, JAMIE KILSTEIN.
Okay.
And then the podcast or the Instagram is Jamie Kilstein podcast.
Cool. Okay. So depression.
Yeah. So back to comedy. It's so funny, dude. The same deal like this podcast I did this morning. When I used to do comedy, like when I was like going on TV and shit, you would, when you have a comic on a show, you're introduced as like, you've seen this guy on Conan and Comedy Central. And my like new intro every time I like do a show, it's just like, this next guy's really been through a lot, and like he's trying to claw his way back up from the hell mess he made. And
those are the kind of people you normally interview now?
No, those are the people. No, that's my new introduction. That's how they introduce me. There's no more Conan. There's no more. It's just like this sad man is gonna try to get himself together for this interview.
That's so interesting because to me, I didn't explain you that way. I said former male feminist, and then they were telling me that makes it sound like you are now a female feminist.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay, so
I've transitioned.
Yeah, you transitioned.
Oh, progressives would love me. That's my way back in to the liberal circles.
Right.
Is I have to transition.
Just say that you're like, well, because you're not gay, right?
No.
Yeah.
I sucked a dick in high school, but that's just because I was like a virgin and
Holy
like
shit. Actually,
I wasn't getting any.
I shouldn't even ask that because I obviously know that you're heterosexual from things that I read about you today. But the fact that you sucked a dick in high school.
Yeah, fuck it, right?
Wow, that's lit, man.
Yeah.
I wish I could say I went in that deep.
I know. Well, my last ex-girlfriend, she was really jealous, and she was so much hotter than me that I'm like, you have nothing to be jealous about. But I told her that, and she got furious, and she was like, are you gay or bi? And I was like, no, I was just so fucking sad. Well, and then when I thought, because I hadn't thought about it in so long, I like blocked it out. But I was like, I thought about it, and he literally said to me when it happened, he goes, hey, man, it's not gay if you wear a condom. And I was like, that sounds right. And
you wore a condom?
What's that? Yeah.
How old were you?
I was like 17. Even guys will be homophobic when sucking dick. We're just like, this isn't fucking gay shit, right?
Well,
okay.
you remember in Brokeback Mountain?
Yeah.
That's like a whole thing that they're like dealing with throughout the whole thing.
That's
like,
a mess.
It's not gay.
Anyway, man,
that's tough love.
Look, that wasn't a way to win back your audience. Let's tone it down and talk about suicide. So so here's when I think you're gonna kill yourself is when you feel like trapped. So to me, anytime I got depressed, I was like, I can make music, I can go do comedy, I can do jiu-jitsu, and I could usually work my way out of it.
Right.
But with this, it was like, it just seemed like there was no solution. So I dropped out of high school after the dick sucking incident. I was like, I'll never be tricked again, you fucking dick sucking liars.
Sucked the dick and just walked out.
I'm out. Peace. That's my version of a mic drop. Just and so can you tell that I usually don't do podcasts late at night? I'm in like bed by now. That I'm just like, fuck it.
Do you smoke weed?
I will.
We've been getting high as shit all night, so that explains. Well, we only smoke one blunt, but
Yeah.
I'm like a little bit inebriated.
A little.
You guys want to collab on round 2? Okay.
All right. I'll have like a little because I'm already mouthy enough.
Wait till you see this big backwoods we smoked too. This ain't no Joe Rogan fucking eating a little square edible thing. It's not. Those probably get you more fucked up.
I was gonna say even that. Yeah.
No,
that
the edibles are gnarly.
Disaster.
I like Joey Diaz is always talking about like his insane edible experiences on there. I never even think about doing
when
them.
he makes his poor co-host Lee just like trip balls during the podcast.
He makes them, you think?
Well, he doesn't. He just does it.
Right. Hey, shout out to our sponsor, Bearwoods.
Yes.
The best weed that I have on me right now. And also head on over to nojumper.com and buy this stupid toy. All right. So for the people at home, you felt so trapped at that point that you thought about killing yourself primarily because you had basically been like booted from your entire social circle community.
It was everything, right? It was relationship, community, and job. So I dropped out of high school to do stand-up. I started doing stand-up when I was 17. I would take the train in from Jersey to New York and just do open mics. And then I lived out of my car for 2 years until I made a living. Like, it's like a crazy fucking story that I even made it. And so everything I had, I threw into this like career. And then what happened was this podcast that I hosted with my ex-wife blew up, and it started blowing up faster than my comedy was, right? So we started to like kind of lose my comedy audience on the podcast and like gain more like very like left of left, like offended at everything political people.
So you kind of like started out on a lower level of just being a liberal, and then slowly started to become like incentivized to be part of this world.
Yes. And it was subconscious, right? Because it's like in your head, it's like you don't feel like being too liberal is selling out, because I'm like, I'm just helping more people. But it was getting to the point where I was saying things that I didn't necessarily believe, you know? And I think that's a big problem with the left in general, where all of these like words, like if you tell someone to like get their shit together or be tough or like man up or you know, those are all very like your racist Republican grandpa sounding words, you know? And I think we've sort of lost that like masculinity on the left a bit.
Yeah, it's like there's no place for men on the left now, don't you kind of feel? Or like men's men.
It's bizarre. Yeah. And I think that's why a ton of young people are going to start to go like right, because they see like Jordan Peterson and they see people just being like, yeah, be a fucking man, walk with your back straight, like be confident. Like if you fuck up, go take responsibility and like fix it.
It sucks that like the conservatives may have a monopoly on that kind of talk, because I'm going to be honest with you, like I see, you know, I still consider myself a liberal. It's been constrained. I feel like my place on the spectrum might have been moved over to.
Oh, that's a great way. I haven't known how to phrase it, but constrained liberal is a really fucking that's a tight way to.
Yeah. You know, I still consider myself a liberal, but you know, it's sometimes it just seems like, wow, what the fuck was I just saying?
Constrained liberal. Oh, the man. There's no manly men.
Like I see.
I am not going to smoke that blunt, by the way.
I smoke. Oh wait, no. Like I see people on the left just act like Jordan Peterson is a fucking Nazi, and I love Jordan Peterson, and like my girlfriend listens to him, and she's, you know, a feminist per se, but she's not fucking nuts. And she listens. You know, she's gotten into Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson through me, and people will like overhear her listening to it in one of her Instagram stories. And she gets Instagram DMs from her fans that treat her like she's listening to fucking Hitler.
Dude, check this out. So that piece I wrote for Quillette, which is how me and you found each other, probably one of the tamest things I've ever done, right? Like I'm not allowed back on Conan. Like that's where my career was. I literally like just screamed about drone strikes for like 5 minutes, and the only other guest was like Kobe Bryant. So it's not like it was like a political. It was a disaster, and so, like, I'm used to being, like, edgy, quote unquote. I hate that word, but you know what I mean? And the Quillette piece was literally like, hey, we should all be nice to each other. It was, like, should have been one of the tamest things. And, dude, I lost, like, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but, like, $300 a month on my Patreon. I had verified Twitter people write to me. Someone called me transphobic. I don't talk about trans issues in the piece, but because Quillette, I guess, has published stuff that they deem transphobic, I'm transphobic by default. And it's also like, all right, motherfucker, well, the New York Times led us into war with Iraq, and every liberal writes for there. It's like all of those places have like blood on their fucking hands. So like, calm down with what you're going to protest. But it was insane, but it was the same thing, but like the same type, where it's like, oh, if you write for this site, you're a Nazi. If you listen to Jordan Peterson. When I first listened to Jordan Peterson, I legitimately thought it was going to be like a call to genocide, because I had heard so much shit about him. And then I listened and he was like, make your bed. And I was like, oh, that sounds great.
He's basically like, you know, handle your life, take care of your shit. And you know what's weird too is that I feel like a lot of like my general life advice that I give to like, you know, a huge percentage of my fans are like teenage boys. And so I kind of know where he's coming from. But you know, a lot of my advice that I give to them in general has really come from Jordan Peterson, just in the sense of like telling people like, be serious about your life. Don't let your fucking life turn into this fucking stupid outrage cycle. Don't allow yourself to be a victim. Go out there and fucking do your thing, and just trying to encourage people. And sometimes I feel like that mentality of like telling kids that they're in charge of their own life is like completely out of the question on the left.
Dude, I have started doing that too. So my friend who I was just with, who I think you guys have crossover. My friend Andy Leo, he's in that band Crown the Empire. I think they know you're like business partner or something.
Oh, they do? Yeah, they're friends with Alfredo. That's
yeah,
crazy.
With Alfredo. Yeah, that's it. And we've started talking about, we'll do like live streams on his Instagram, because he's same deal. He has a lot of like younger fans. He has a lot of like young like girls. And we've been talking like that, and people are acting like it is the most revolutionary thing, because especially in like emo music, right? It's like you're like encouraged to be like sad. And with liberal politics, when I hung out with only liberal journalists in Brooklyn, first of all, it's like white as fuck for people who are just like, there's not enough representation in Hollywood. It's like, yo, there's not enough representation in your drinking night. I've seen who you hang out with. It is all fucking white people.
Yeah, man, that's so funny.
And they're just like these trust fund kids. They're awful. So, but when we would hang out, it was like they were so miserable and so bitter that they would just bond over almost bragging about like, oh, your day sucked. Well, this editor fucked me over and I missed this, and they got off on just sympathy. And that's like, when people talk about, which I think self-care is like really important, but like on Twitter, someone will be like, I was triggered because I saw a sad commercial, and they're like, all right, just, quit your job, take a day to watch Netflix. And it's like, Jesus, like you can also say shit sucks, take a breath, go meditate, go do jujitsu, and then like fucking go kick the shit out of that problem. But if you say that on the left, it's like you're victim blaming or you're shaming. It's like, no, we're trying to help you.
Right.
And I think that's why all these young men are like really attracted to Peterson. I think that's why me and you were attracted to Peter. When I started listening to Peterson and Jocko, people who I could have never listened to on the left without getting shit on, like it legitimately saved my life.
And you know what the crazy thing for me is that like the central message of rap music is more get up off your ass, get some money, do your thing, hustle, etc. It's way more that than I'm a victim. Life is terrible because my life has, been set up for me to fail and stuff. Yeah. And that stuff is discussed. It's like, the average rapper is not blind to the fact that the system is unfair, but the central message still tends to be go out there and fucking prove yourself and make something out of your life.
I think that when people get depressed, they don't get depressed about the thing that's specifically happening, right? So let's say like you get fired, or one of your fans gets dumped, and okay, you have a problem that you have to deal with. You have a shitty thing that happened to you. But what happens is our brain starts to spiral. And we go, I got fired. What am I going to do? I'm going to lose all my money. I'm going to lose all my money, so that means like my girlfriend's going to leave me. And of course she's going to fucking leave me because I'm a piece of shit. And like I like don't deserve it. That's why my first girlfriend cheated on me. And like, oh my God, my dad hates me. And you just start like spiraling into that, as opposed to just like, my job sucks. I need to get my shit together. I need to get a new fucking job. And not only that, like I love what Jocko says, how whenever there's a problem, he says good. It's like, I got a new job, good, because I'm better than that. And I'm gonna find. I do this in jiu-jitsu all the time. I lost a position, good. Now you're in this other position and you're more fucked. As opposed to just like desperately trying to claw onto this sort of one thing, and then if you lose it, giving up. And the problem is, especially with social media, is you can go on and be like, had a bad day, and suddenly all of your friends are just telling you how great and wonderful you are, but that doesn't necessarily get you to get your shit together. It encourages you the next time you're kind of bummed out to post another sappy, shitty post to get sympathy, and get that like little dopamine hit. I think social media is like a huge cause.
Social media, what I notice, and this is an unfortunate scenario, but it seems like, the left has really like ceded the free speech territory to the right.
So weird.
Which is a really unfortunate thing, and really like in the long term, I think might doom it for at least like my type of fan base. It's like the free speech thing is a deal breaker for like anyone who's interested in rap or like uses offensive speech or is just the kind of person that's not easily offended. And having that be like purely a right issue now, where like they are the only ones who seem concerned about it. But then also, I just noticed that it seems like the people on the left who have like the biggest fucking mouths and are the most likely to just be yapping about shit are the ones who never go on fucking podcasts and are never really willing to like battle it out with people in the public sphere, and they just cover up for it by saying like, yo, I'm fucking, you're a Nazi. I can't do a discussion with you because you're a Nazi. And this recent Ocasio, whatever the fuck her name is, Ben Shapiro thing is like the most obvious example.
Well, dude, it's one of those things where, I mean, God, it's fucking so much on this. To circle back to the sort of victim mentality, I think I said this on Rogan, but it's sort of where I knew that the left was it wasn't there, it wasn't right for me anymore. Where I had a kid write into my old podcast, this progressive podcast, and he was like, went to my doctor. Doctor said I'm going to die. I have 2 kids. If I don't lose like a shitload of weight, like I'm done. And so I think I gave some like bullshit answer on the show, but then I found his email and I wrote him and I was like, where do you live? And I found him an MMA school to train at. And I sent him like a bunch of like recipes of like healthy food and shit. So cut to like a year later, he writes in, maybe less than a year, he writes in and he was like, dude, don't know if you remember me. I lost like fucking 80 pounds already. My doctor said he's never seen anything like it. I love jujitsu. I'm entering like my first like white belt tournament. You know, you guys like saved my life, blah, blah, blah. So I read this on the air because I'm terribly depressed. I'm in this like marriage with like a woman who doesn't like me. I like lived out of my car to do, it was one of those moments where I'm like, okay, what I'm doing is worth it. Like it's like helping people, right? Mm-hmm. The next fucking day, we got like at least 10 emails that were like, by reading his email, we were fat shaming other people. Now, we never said, if you're fat, you have to do jujitsu. Somebody wrote in and said, I'm going to die and leave my kids fucking orphans. I don't feel well. And I said, go do jujitsu. And he said it worked. And this is a perfect example of like fat shaming. Like if you walk up to people on the street who are fat and you make fun of them, like that's awful, right? That's what fat shaming is. But saying that, hey,
it's better to be in shape than to be.
But we weren't even saying. But no, we weren't even saying that.
You weren't even saying that.
We read the email. No, because I would be too worried to say that. We read an email of someone who's like, "Hey, I'm not going to die anymore because you got me into jiu-jitsu."
Right.
And they said that story of success and him not dying is fat shaming. Like, fuck you. When you are so fucking insecure and miserable that you would rather someone else die or everyone else be as sad as fucking you are, that instead of like confronting your habits or your demons, which like, dude, I've done and it's hard, but it's worth it, you would rather these other kids go down. It's like, it's just fucking selfish. It's so selfish.
It's so bizarre. And because like losing weight for me was probably like the most, you know, enriching experience I've ever been through. Like when I was like 21 or 22 and I got up to like, I'm like 220 right now. I got up to like 280.
Wow.
And I was just, you know, because I had a broken leg and it's my first time living on my own. I mean, McDonald's and pizza and shit every day.
Yep.
And, you know, then at some point in my life, and obviously I fucking had no clue what I was doing for a while, but I had to figure out how to fucking eat healthy, how to, you know, exercise and stuff like that. And going through that process of buying fucking bodybuilding magazines all the way through to like going to fucking CrossFit classes and just sort of learning about how to change my own body, how to eat different, everything like that. And actually like seeing that progress day by day.
Yeah.
It's like the kind of experience that I feel like gives you a huge amount of like that sense that I can control my existence in my life. And that's such a valuable thing that I like to talk to kids about so much. And it's so scary because my audience very rarely like maps over with like the people who are so far gone that they think it's bad to talk about how being morbidly obese is bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just like unthinkable to me that there are people out there that don't want to have honest conversations about shit like that.
I mean, dude, I was in that scene for so long that honestly, when I wrote this piece and like you reached out and fucking Sam Harris and Rogan tweeted it and all this stuff, it was because fucking shit. Because I was having. I fucking. God damn it.
That's like good shit.
Oh, yeah, it is. California weed. I grew up poor in New Jersey, so like if I got high, it was laced and I was in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, where like
you're off the fry.
Yeah. Whereas like I have California weed now, and I'm just like, oh, this is a nightmare.
You never smoked PCP?
I was told I might have. Some guy. I remember once when I was in Jersey, I was with like some townie dude. I was a kid, and I was like, "Yo, man, I'm really high." And I swear to God, he goes, "Yeah, there might be a little crack in that." I'm like, "What is a little crack?" That's not a way to describe crack. It's like you either smoke no crack or you're addicted to crack. There's not like a little, like you don't dabble in crack.
Right. That's how I always understood it.
But yeah, if I've smoked PCP, it was probably by accident.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because I used to know this because I was like.
I thought you were going to say because you just smoked PCP.
No. That would be lit. No, but for like, I lived in Brooklyn for like 7 years. And so I would know all these fucking like young BMX kids, because I was like 21, 22 when I started this BMX website, which is what I did for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So there'd always be these like, weird ass kids that would come and like ride in the city every weekend and stuff. And I remember there was this one 16-year-old kid named Skomar, and his name was Omar, and he threw the SK on it for
why not?
God knows why. And he was massive, like built like a fucking tank, this dude. And he would ride in these fucking Timberland boots, and his bike was just like 50 pounds, and it was just crazy ass kid. And then he started smoking that PCP, and he was fucking gone. He would just be putting these videos on MySpace. And I remember that like he had no reason to dislike me at all, or like any of my friends, but he got like one time he posted this video of him just writing our names at the skate park and then crossing them out, like saying that he was gonna kill us.
Jesus Christ.
And I mean, I haven't seen or heard from him in like 12 years. I would be 0% surprised if he's dead. I would actually love for someone to prove to me that he's still alive.
Yeah,
Just send me pictures of him.
Should we Facebook? Should we search him on Facebook?
Skomar. Go find his MySpace.
I love the fact that I love the image of him having like a professional job, like working in an office, but still being called Skomar.
Oh yeah, that definitely had to happen at a later date.
But what I was gonna say is like, I've been shocked by the sort of I was so indoctrinated in that world for so long that now that I have like normal people reaching out to me again, I mean, dude, I lost my entire audience. I had somebody who like wrote on my Facebook, "You saved my life. If I didn't have your stand up, like I would have like killed myself." And then the next day when like shit hit the fan with my ex, literally didn't even delete that comment, added a comment to that comment. I was like, "I fucking hope you die." And like, I mean, I used to joke around that like what was so great about not having a boss, like we turned down offers from like Sirius Radio. And what was great about being supported, like we didn't even have sponsors. So like one time Glenn Beck called us out on his show.
Really?
Yeah, and people would like, they were like, "We're going to come after your sponsors." It's like, fuck you, motherfucker. No one wants to sponsor us. We're talking about war crimes and shit. Like, we don't have any sponsors. Like, come after us.
You were too far left to get sponsors.
Oh, we didn't even try because we were too far left where it's like we didn't believe in money.
Oh, advertising.
Yeah, we were just like, fuck that.
So you were just purely Patreon?
Well, it was before Patreon, but we had the Patreon model before Patreon, like with PayPal.
Operating your entire life off the Patreon is like the ultimate social justice warrior hustle.
Yeah.
Then you have reached pure social justice warrior status once you no longer have to do anything and you just get these Patreon checks.
Yeah, I tried I have a Patreon for the podcast just because I got to figure out how to fucking make money. Because again, I mean,
I can't believe anybody was supporting your Patreon of late and then unsubscribed or whatever.
Yeah, it's wild.
Based on that article. What was in that article that you're not saying on the podcast?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, you read it. We became friends because of that article.
It was pretty tame.
Where it was like, it was literally like, be nice to people. But I guess Quillette, like I said, has like published like anytime you tweet, like you said about Jordan Peterson, if you tweet Jordan Peterson, if you write for Quillette, they just automatically call you alt-right.
I follow Sam Harris's Patreon as long as you want some fucking fuel to get me canceled.
Yeah. Well,
been on that for like a year.
Hey, if you're mad, counter that by supporting my Patreon.
I might have to. It seems like a good deed.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ! It's been. I'll say this, kids, about standing your ground. It sucks for a little while.
Right.
But I went from like rich, bougie, like 4-bedroom on like Prospect Park, just spending money on stupid shit to like convince myself I was happy.
Round out your existence.
Yeah.
You had the nice car.
Like,
do all that.
No, I'm not even shit like that. Just dumb shit. I was like, I'm gonna get a Pac-Man machine because like that's what you get when you get a book deal. Is you like get a Pac-Man machine. Like I never played it. It was just like a symbol for like my dying marriage in the corner that was like unplugged. And like, but I was just I was just putting all this stuff out, and I was so fucking depressed. And I went from that to jobless, single, like living on a couch. And dude, this is because the first year, once I didn't kill myself, I got off social media. I got my first day job in 20 years, but it was like teaching jujitsu. So I actually got to see what it was like to help people instead of just tweet shit for retweets,
Wow.
And I realized how much of that was artificial, how much of, even if I tweeted something I agree with, I'm still sitting there refreshing it, looking to see if like Questlove favorited it or someone retweeted it, and it's like, okay, well then am I really doing it for the right reasons? Am I really out there
celebrity
helping?
example you used on Rogan right there.
Was it?
Yeah.
You know, do you want to know?
Questlove,
Do you want to know why?
Because you're a comedian.
No, because Questlove followed me, and I got so excited that was literally who I thought.
Did he unfollow you in the wake of the horrors?
Can I be real honest with you? Too sad to look. So every time I see him, I don't look to see if he's still following me.
Oh, I can't imagine. Couldn't be me. I always look, bro. Not always, but like, you know, I want to. If there's somebody that I think is a likely unfollower, I'm in there.
Yeah, it was Questlove and Chrissy Teigen. I was like, they followed me like the week before it all happened, and I was like, no. I finally got them to follow me.
Losing the Chrissy Teigen follow had to hurt. Huh?
Well, I didn't. I don't know. Again, I don't know.
Well, someone's gonna inform you because of this. That might have been a little too real.
We never talked, but she followed me. I was very excited.
Right.
It's crazy where I'm so much happier now with the least I've ever had, and you know, when I had a ton, I was fucking miserable, and I think that, you know, it's already starting to like pick up again, which is good, but like even touring's been hard. But fucking, I'm just a better person. I'm just like not on social media. I'm not trying to like go after people. You know, I'm just posting positive shit, but like that stuff doesn't get you an audience fast, man.
Right.
You know, like, you tweet, hey, I really liked Crazy Rich Asians, it'll be like one favorite. But if you're like, hey, Crazy Rich Asians was problematic because why do only Asians get to be rich? Why wasn't it crazy trans Asian Latino bi gender, right?
Right?
Like,
why was everybody cis het in
yeah,
that fucking...
exactly.
No,
And
there was like one gay guy, but we didn't see him fuck.
But we
Why
didn't
not?
know,
Yeah.
right? Oh, yeah, and also that's offensive. What if he was like non-binary? What
Right.
if he was like asexual? Like,
No trans people in Crazy Rich Asians.
yeah,
God
and
damn
then
it.
the fucking right wing comes in from the other side, and they're just like, "Fuck, get Asians out of there!" And all those motherfuckers again, retweets.
And from your perspective, it's like you could probably go like do a podcast with Cernovich.
Oh, listen to me.
Or you could go and do that because like the James Damore dude from Google, that was kind of unfortunate to me because he was so tame in what he wrote, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's doing all these podcasts with these people who are like crazy far right.
Look, if I today, who I was out because I was out with like my like celebrity music friends,
And shout out to Cernovich.
shout out, book me, go to my Patreon, Cernovich. When I was out with like my like rock star buddy, so I didn't want to be sad, so I'm like, yeah, we can split the check. and then I went to like update my like podcast stream, and like I like declined for $15, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. With that said, I could write a book tomorrow, give it a dumbass title. I could go how I left the left and why the right is right. And the fucking king of publishing would knock on my door, and he would be like, "Here's a check for $1 trillion," and I would be rich. I would have my own show on Fox News.
Yes.
Well, what if, because there's not crossover between you and Fox News, I take the gig, get a bunch of money, and then every night I come over and I'm like, yo, here's what fucking went down. And then this will be like our like infiltrating Fox News.
Right, and they won't have any idea. No.
Yeah, they won't know.
Oh my God.
They don't watch you guys.
That's so far though. That's the book title right there.
Of
It's
course
so
it is.
easy.
Of fucking course it is.
Because as soon as you say like ex-male feminists,
they're
it's like,
just,
ooh,
there's like, oh,
really?
jerk.
Did
Yeah.
what? Ex-male feminist mows the lawn with his shirt off.
Yeah, just
That's a Jezebel article for sure.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And so dude, it is. It's so ridiculous because now it is not easy to build up a Patreon or hype if I'm like, hey, who wants to march for nuance and good conversation and moderation, and it's gonna move slow, but
Right.
like no one wants that.
You're going for that Dave Rubin lane.
Yeah,
Sort of middle of the road.
that
Like,
kind-
let's have a conversation.
I don't even know if I want that. I just want to tell like jokes about coming on girls and drugs and give people advice and try to help them out. Like, to be honest, like I don't want to write about politics. But I'm with, agents and managers where they're like, you tell them kind of a new route and they go, yeah, but you did stand up. So just go do stand up until you build back up and then you can do that stuff. Or, But this whole world is like so fucking foreign to everybody else.
Where it's like your very existence is politicized, so you kind of like have to.
That's the
there's
thing.
an
It's like
inherent
the lane I know.
politicalness.
Right, because if a comedian wrote the article I wrote today, they wouldn't have gotten the shit that I got, right? Or if a comedian was like accused of what I was accused of, it's like what I was quote unquote accused of is nothing more than a comic has talked about on stage. You know, like cheating, fucking up, like having one night stands on the road.
Right.
That's it. That's not rape. That's not sexual misconduct. That's not anything at all like that.
Yeah, that is the crazy thing, is that from a glance with your shit, you would think that you had done some really fucked up shit. But then when you actually like dig in and sort of like read what you were accused of, they were accusations that could only take place in the most extreme feminist of circles. Because it was basically like some chick like, he fucked me, or I guess you didn't even fuck her, and then he like talked about fucking girls on the road on a podcast.
So that's the insane thing. So that was, in the article that ruined me, and she even said, she's like, I never trusted a man more, or like he never, like I felt so safe. Like he said, like she wrote in this article that when we were together, I was great because I don't fucking. Dude, I make girls make the first move. I'm just a pussy. Like, I'm not even saying I'm a great feminist. I'm just like afraid of rejection. And then she goes, but then 2 months later, he called me a road fuck on his podcast. And it's like, and then Jezebel wrote, Jezebel could not find the quote.
Have you ever used that phrase, road fuck?
I hosted the show with my wife and we broadcasted to Feminist.
Right.
I'm not talking about like smashing puss.
See, that did surprise me. I was like, he was talking like that on like a feminist podcast
With my
talking
wife.
about road fucks.
But here's the thing too, that's even more fucked up is, let's say I said that.
Yeah.
Let's say I came on here, right here. I'll do it right now. I fucked a girl I'm probably not going to see again this weekend that I met on a fucking dating app because I was sad.
That's fire.
All right. So there's that is
it's the meaning of life.
That I know. That is not abuse. That is not sexual misconduct. That is not. I wouldn't even call that
beautiful.
emotional abuse.
No.
And so even if that was true, which it wasn't.
I defer to Ghostface. Hell yeah, fuck fans.
Is that a real quote?
Yeah.
Dude, I want that to be the intro
And
to my
also,
podcast.
every rapper I ever met my whole life fucks fans, because especially once you're popping enough, then everyone's a fan.
It's also, why the fuck did we get into art? Because we were like sad and like didn't know. Like, that's why I did it. I'm like, no one's fucking me. I'm sucking a dick. I was like, I got to learn how to fucking play guitar. Like,
I'm sucking a dick. My life is in shambles.
Someone teach me the drums. I got to learn how to write jokes.
Why would you, as a celebrity, as an entertainer, why would you go out into the world and make millions of people love you unless you could have sex with a small percentage of them?
Well, and also chances are somebody who you're going to end up with in like a real relationship is going to know what you do. You're not going to go searching for like, do you know my music? No? Okay, we can fuck. Like, you're not going to go around town making sure they don't know you. It's not a power dynamic. It's just like the job we chose.
I've been dating a girl for 2 years, and I met her because I did a fucking weird EDM podcast one time.
Yeah.
You know? It's
Yeah.
like she was sort of a fan.
Right.
It's all right.
Well, because that's where they hear you. And by the way, we think it's like adorable if they like fall in love and like do all this stuff. But what's so scary is you look at the title of the article, which is everyone who's trying to rebook me right now, that my agent's trying to get me booked at, they Google me, and on the front page, it's words like sexual misconduct and just the word abuse.
Right.
That sounds like I fucking hit women.
Right.
That sounds like I've like raped someone. That sounds like I've groped someone. And so like, you think I'm getting booked? Nope.
Right. Just because it's so much easier for them not to. And that's I heard you sort of talking about that on something, but it's true. It's like when you're huge, like when you're Louis C.K., it's like as soon as he wants to have a fucking career, he's going to be making millions of dollars again because he's big enough that he has that kind of clout, that kind of pull.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a lot of these rappers and stuff.
That kind of pull. Get it?
A lot of these rappers, that's why they're able to do so well. They're so big that it's
Right.
like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
From
And-
your perspective, you were still very much not only were you mostly popular with the main type of people that turned on you, but you also, did your Twitter count go down significantly?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, everything did. And Facebook, I don't even think, like, I'm verified and shit. I don't even think people see my posts. Like, it's like when you'll have like 15,000, like I have like 15,000 followers and it's like 2 people saw it.
Everybody has that problem on Facebook.
It's the fucking worst. But I go, of course I lost a ton of followers. And here's the thing, I'm partly responsible for all of that, where I was like a self-righteous douchebag, where I lost a lot of my comedy fans by going that far to the left and being judgy. And if someone said that we're offended by what this comedian said, it's like, all right, my group's offended, so like I got to go to bat. And then I could be the progressive comedian that goes on MSNBC to say why that joke's offensive. So those guys were like, oh, I know he didn't do anything, but ha ha.
Right.
Like that's what happens, right?
You set it up where people wanted to see you take that out.
Yeah. And then the people on the left just take their fucking marching orders and they just,
That's a weird thing for me has just been that since, I basically, for those who are not initiated here, I basically had, an ex-girlfriend from like 12 years ago or 10 years ago decide that I raped her the first time I ever hung out with her, the day that I signed my Atlantic deal. So that was a fun little thing that I went through this year. It didn't ultimately really like matter that much to me. But the weird thing about it, the fallout.
You're not supposed to rape to celebrate a record deal? Is that not? Is that a rumor?
This was allegedly 10 years ago.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is weird because it makes me wonder like where all the other, like if I had that in me, if I had it in me to rape somebody, would I really have only done it once?
That's true.
Or like twice, like that would have. It seems like that's kind of like a thread for a lot of people is that
I feel like
do it and they keep
I feel like
doing
people don't rape as a phase, is what you're trying to say.
I mean,
it's not like I had a goth and a rape phase in high school.
I fucked like 50 girls with my girlfriend this year. It's like. It's like, that's what she says. She's like, I never really doubted it just because, I see how you are. She's like, I know you don't care. Like, you don't like care enough. Like, I could never imagine you like caring about getting laid enough to like do something aggressive.
Right.
I'm like, baby, that means so much to me.
This is actually a podcast I can talk about road fucks. I never wanted to say this when I was actually defending myself, but now like people hate me and I need a career, so whatever. But like, I always wanted to be like, when they literally found, because an ex put out that like kind of call to arms to, she literally like wrote on like a feminist Facebook, like, who's been wronged by Jamie Kilstein. And yeah, like those 2 people, one was like, he tried to flirt with me on Twitter. Then there was that other girl that you just described. And I wanted just to be like, guys, out of the fucking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women I've slept with, like, that's what you got? Like, don't I also get credit for that?
Right.
Like, it's so fucking unreal. That's what happened with Chris Hardwick. Like, when all of he like lost everything. And then all of his like ex-wives and like wives and girlfriends just wrote and was like, no, this is bullshit.
They got Matt Lauer just because he had that door that locks from the inside.
Which isn't that like a normal thing people have? But,
I mean, if you're a rich, famous celebrity, yeah, go get yourself one of those fucking buttons or whatever. I think that's amazing. I would love that.
But they made him sound like he was a serial killer.
Right.
Like he had like, all Matt Lauer had was a shovel and that rape button. Like
the rape button.
They literally made it seem like Matt Lauer went and hosted the Today Show, and then went to his like fucking dungeon of rape
within the NBC building.
Within the NBC building, yeah, it was just like a peacock holding like bondage tools and shit.
Don't go in Matt's rape corner.
yeah. Oh no.
Oh man. So, okay. Oh yeah. What else was I trying to say before? The crazy shit about it too is that now when I actually have like a woman who like hits me up as like an artist, or like somehow we do an interview together and she's super nice and cool and normal to me, it's like I'm sort of like so overwhelmingly happy, like, oh God, thank God that you don't fucking think some crazy shit about me, like it just feels so good to like realize like, okay, everybody's not fucking on board with this stupid ass shit. It just feels so good,
dude. I had like a shame about like dating too, because it's like, okay,
you're scared they're gonna Google you and shit, right?
Of course. Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to tell them, and so. But dude, even if I made friends with a guy, remember, I was literally accused with having like a consensual like sex with people. I would make a new guy friend and I would like sit them down and be like, hey, there's something you need to know about me. Like literally I was on like a registered like kid fucking list. And I'm like, I'm required by law to tell you I fucked a fan and didn't call her a road fuck. And these guys would be like, dude, what you don't have to tell me that. But like, that's the kind of shame I walked around. Like I walked around like I was, because social media will make you feel like it's the whole world. Yeah. So I walked around with like a hoodie and sunglasses and like, I was like,
you're walking through the grocery store just like, oh my God.
Oh my God, especially because I was like, I used to go to that Silver Lake 365 where everyone's like a hot celebrity.
Okay, well, there you probably could get shamed.
Yeah.
That could happen.
And fucking, dude, I saw one of the comics, like famous comics, who like went after me, like at that Trader Joe's, and my girlfriend had to be like, or at that Whole Foods, and my girlfriend had to be like, don't.
Right.
He's fucking sad. Just don't.
It's crazy. It makes me really thankful that I have a bad memory and I meet like 100 people a day, because I could not even I can't even think of almost anybody that I could see in public that I could be like, he talked shit about me on Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm so self-obsessed that I'm like not really, even the people who have tweeted about me like dozens of times, sort of like, it's not really, it's not like I'm clicking through and looking at their Instagram. I don't really know what they look like.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, this guy's very famous, but also I was like, every time I went out, I had to act like Jason Bourne. I was just like, where are the exits? Where are the weapons? Where's fucking Patton Oswalt? Like, all right, cool, got it. And it was really awful and it was really scary. And so a shocking amount though of girls I've dated since, and for most of this time, I was with a girl when it happened. She's also like the reason I'm not fucking dead, because I had like this like beautiful, nice girl who was like, you're not a creep at all, and so that made me feel less like a leper. Like I had her I could like walk around with, and but we broke up, but since I've dated, I've been really surprised by girls who I've told, or girls who knew, or girls who looked it up. And a lot of these liberal feminist girls, it's not like I'm suddenly like banging like church conservatives.
Ann Coulter.
Yeah. I should look her. Cernovich and Ann Coulter.
You should hit her up on Raya.
Yeah.
You think she made it?
What do you think her entrance song is?
I don't know. I've never been on Raya, full disclosure.
I've heard about it. I'm pending. But to be fair, I'm an accused sex miscreant. I think my status lowered.
Miscreant. Just use the worst word you could think of.
Yeah, I was very proud of that. But a lot of these girls have been like, that's bullshit. And even when that article came out, like the day after, I had a woman who spoke at the Women's March call me, and she's like, this makes my job harder because I can talk shit about me, like it ruined my life and like it ruins men's lives, and like, cool, that's true. But also like when you start equating consensual dating with rape, or what Al Franken did, if you pretending to grab your tits with like assault, if you start equating you and your girlfriend getting into a fight with like verbal abuse, or breaking up with someone as manipulative because they thought that you were going to be in a relationship with them, it's like, no, that's not manipulative, that's a relationship.
You would think that Al Franken had like raped like 15 women the way they treated him.
Dude, not only that, but when Matt Damon made that statement where he was like, Me Too is really important and really good, but we shouldn't equate Harvey Weinstein with like Al Franken. Matt Damon was trending on Twitter like he fucking raped a bunch of women. So it's gonna make it worse for women, because now, and we're seeing it already, there's a blowback to it where when there are serious accusations, people are like, oh, what? Like fucking the Al Franken thing? What were they dating? What were they like? You're going to see shaming of like women who were actually raped, like probably go up, because now there are all these like insane examples, like the Aziz story, or what, you just regret it? You were just drinking. And, I think that's going to hurt women in the long run.
That's
like,
one
too.
thing you realize, like once you sort of entered into this domain, is that there's like near universal skepticism from like everyone, and everybody is privately like really fascinated by / like really skeptical of a lot of the Me Too shit, and that they absolutely just would refuse to ever say anything about it publicly because they just know exactly what would happen. Like the level of support that I got privately when this chick came for me, and then a bunch of girls came for me, well, a bunch of people came for me afterwards, like the level of support I was giving privately was so insane, but I understood that those people could not come out and say that.
Hashtag Me Too,
Yeah.
because that did happen to me too. Yeah, yeah, man, it's bizarre. That's happening a lot on the left. I'm friends with a lot of like big liberal guys who will like be online and be like hashtag believe all women and stuff like that, and then they kind of like look around and they're like, yeah, but this story was stupid, right? And like that's not true, and like I don't really understand what's happening with like but if you say it, your fucking Patreon goes down, your chances of getting gigs goes down. It's really bizarre that what we're saying is like the edgy stuff to say, when in reality it's like, no, you should listen to everyone. There should be a trial. You shouldn't shame people out of jobs. You shouldn't, Harvey Weinstein is not fucking Al Franken. It's really bad. People on Twitter, it's just, but again, hyperbole, all that stuff. That's what gets like the retweets.
Right.
Not being like, be a good person. People, boo, get out.
Get out of here. Boring ass message right there.
Yeah.
Civility is like the new 4-letter word.
How funny is that? That's like the edgy thing.
Right.
It's like, hey, you want to be nice to each other for a little bit? Like,
Right. If you're not willing to go to war.
Yeah, Jesus. I grew up watching clips of Bill Hicks screaming, "You're a fucking cunt. Get out, you fucking cunt." And I was like, that's edgy. And now the edgy thing is like, we should come together and compromise.
So crazy. Yeah, and it's weird. It's weird because you don't want to like turn against the things you really believe in.
I've come close. I get it. The people who do it, I get it.
Right.
Like, I've totally come close. And then, but I've had opportunities to, do more right-wing shit, more right-wing articles. But every time I start actually talking about politics, I'm like, oh, my heart is still there. These are still things I believe. I mean, back to the masculinity thing, it's like, the problem is a lot of these Republicans who say it, politicians, not Republican people, but a lot of these Republican politicians who say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. The reason that has a bad connotation is because that's a fucking rich dynasty, born into wealth politician who's saying that to like the poor black kid who they just like defunded their school so that their billionaires could get like, gold-plated like dildos or whatever. And like, just to like fucking pay each other on like Halloween Eve while wearing like Ronald Reagan masks or some shit.
Right.
But like, so they're saying it, but then it has such a bad connotation of those guys. Whereas, me and you who have been through a bunch of shit, if we tell our fans to like pull themselves up by their bootstraps, we're saying it because like, no, we've been there and we get it. And fucking do it because I promise it'll make your life better. But again, on the left, it's like there's not that masculinity. But I think that liberal principles, in theory, are very masculine, right? It is like defend people who may not be able to defend themselves. It's help people pull themselves back up. Like those are, if we're talking about masculinity, about like protecting your family and like being like strong, I think liberalism in that sense, back in the day, it was like unions, the civil rights activists. Like, I mean, even now, like these protesters, like fucking that lady scaled up a North Carolina flagpole and like ripped the Confederate flag down. Like, that's tough as shit. And like, that's on the left, right? But at the same time, you have this other side of the left that is just, there's fucking pussies. And they're the exact opposite of that. And usually it's like the privileged white people, which is hilarious, while the black people are like in the street marching and shit like that. But yeah, I think that liberalism can be tough, but it's just gone fucking over the edge, man.
Yeah, feels like that a lot. Yeah. Oh man, I don't even know. Like sometimes I just wonder, like, because going into take back to like pre-Donald Trump, I would have thought that my whole fucking audience, and also pre-Donald Trump also had a much smaller audience, but I would have thought that my whole audience was liberal.
Yeah.
And then as I started to get bigger on YouTube, it's like then I just realized that there's just like a huge undercurrent on YouTube in particular of people who empathize with right-wing stuff. And they might not always even be people that like explicitly fuck with Trump, because that still is hard for me to accept that I have so many fans who fucking love this guy. But it's weird to think that on YouTube, it feels like a completely different audience. On YouTube, all that feminist shit does nothing in terms of views and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
And on YouTube, the right wing stuff is way bigger, or just like, not necessarily right wing stuff, but like if you go to YouTube and you search feminist, all shit making fun of feminists. You have to dig to find anything that is actually like sincerely feminist.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this is not just my experience because of other stuff I've watched on YouTube, that's what it shows me.
It's
but
like, did you mean like bondage porn? He was like, no.
I mean, that's my experience with having searched that word, and just like the tide of like anti-social justice warrior sentiment on YouTube. It's
so
crazy. And on Twitter, you would think the exact opposite.
And that's where I got big, was like Twitter and the podcast and stuff like that. And but the reality of it is none of those people exist in real life. Like, I mean, they do, but anyone I've met who like heard my shit or disagreed with me would either be really nice about it, or if it was in jiu-jitsu, they like wouldn't say anything because they don't want me to fuck them up, but would probably be friends. But those extreme people on the right on YouTube and the extreme people on the left on Twitter, you go outside and you're just like, the majority of people aren't even really on there. And if they are, it's just something they do for fun and they're not obsessing over it and they're not commenting. I mean, fuck, man, I've never commented on something that I've liked because I have shit to do. I've never commented on something that I don't like. I mean, on Twitter, I'll try to like retweet things I like so other people can see them. But I've never like created an account to tell a stranger that you suck, you know? Like you on YouTube, man, I mean, you can get there could be a blind 7-year-old playing the violin and like someone just be like fucking gay, like ugh, thumbs down. And
that's why I love you guys.
It's bold. But
the insults, man.
But I think that like people, they don't say stuff. A lot of times they legitimately are joking. They wouldn't have the balls to say it to your face. And they're not always out there. Like every one of your fans that gets like bullied or gets shit, like one of the best pieces of advice I got was like, no one is thinking about you as much as you think they are. Because we're all thinking about our own shit. Like there's so many times where I'm like, that guy's mad at me or this guy. And it's just like, no, man, they're like in their own head. They're not thinking about you. You make everything about yourself. And these people have moved on. That's why, I mean, that's also why it's really fucking evil on Twitter, where it's like, oh, you'll just ruin a guy's life, get him fired, and then just move on to your next target.
And then it's over. And then you never hear about it.
No.
Or just once in a while, you get a little flare up maybe.
Yeah, but you don't think they're real people. I mean, that happened with that Hardwick thing. Like, I didn't really read the story, so I don't want to comment on the accusations. But what I did...
also did not care enough to read it.
Yeah. But what I did see was this. What I did see... Well, two things happened. I don't think I said this on the show. I had my first pitch meeting for this animated I wrote. And I was just like, my agent was like, how'd it go? I was like, dude, not only did it go well, but like during the meeting, one of my favorite comedians called and like he read my feature and like said it was great. And that guy heard it. Now he wants to read the feature. And he's like, oh, so proud of you, man. So proud of you. And then the next day he texted me and was like, check Twitter. The place I pitched was fucking Chris Hardwick's company. Oh. And the next day it was like, Chris Hardwick has been Me Too'd. And I was like, yeah, that sounds right. Like I didn't even get mad. I was like, sure, of course that's what happened.
Holy shit.
And so, but when that happened, before he even responded to defend himself, everybody on Twitter, verified people, comedians who were on his show, were like, fuck him. I knew it. I hope he never works again. Fire him. They're adding The Walking Dead. They're adding like his other game show. And it's like, we don't even wait for someone to defend themselves anymore. We get off. We get like hard on the idea of ruining someone else's life so they can be just as miserable as we are.
Right. You know what? Sometimes with what you're describing, like the way you just described Hardwick getting treated that way, it makes me wonder what the fuck is wrong with rap. Because, man, I seen, like Khalees came out and said that Nas, like, beat the shit out of her and stuff. Yeah. Man, you did not hear that much about it. Like, in the grand, like, and she is talking about something that allegedly happened like 10 years ago. But I mean, like, Fabulous was just like arrested for like knocking his fucking girlfriend's teeth out or some shit, or like punching her in the face so hard she had to get her teeth removed or replaced or something. I mean, you didn't hear that much about it, to be totally honest. And it feels like that stuff kind of gets swept under the rug and that nobody really like wants to like go that hard on anyone.
I wonder why.
I think it's because the audience just doesn't seem to care with their buying dollars. Yeah. And that makes the media and everybody else feel like, oh, like we could talk about this, but it's not like it's really going to affect anything. I actually have a hard time thinking of like any rapper that's faced like serious repercussions from doing something fucked up in their private life. Obviously, you could look at like Chris Brown.
Yeah, but Chris Brown had repercussions.
Yeah,
but now it's like, dude, every fucking song I hear that I don't know on the radio, and I'm like, who's that voice of an angel in the background? I'm like, oh, god damn it, it's Chris Brown.
I've always been amazed that his career has endured.
Sustained.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, but that's what we were talking about before. It's like, if you have the fan base first,
right?
Like, compare Mel Gibson with Kramer. What was Kramer going to do after Seinfeld? Yes. Nothing, right?
That's true.
So it's like, fuck him, he can go. But Mel Gibson, we're like, oh, he's a good director. So like, you kind of like want him. Same with like Woody Allen, right?
Right.
I remember like I jokingly said to my girlfriend when the day after this happened, I think the first joke I made back was, I'm like, well, I guess I can finally watch that Casey Affleck movie that won all the awards. Like, all these things I've been like boycotting. I'm like, oh, I can check out Woody Allen. I'm like, I've never watched his movies because I was told he was problematic. But like, yeah, it just depends on who we like. Yeah. If you're kind of a dick, or your work is, if you just don't care about it. But if someone if Barack Obama, if it came out that Barack Obama like grabbed something, people would be like, it's fine. I mean,
nobody's going to believe that he did that.
No one, because he's a great man. He's an adorable dog.
It just wouldn't fit in with his overall persona.
Do you know what I was thinking about the other day? Who out of any politician? My answer is Joe Biden, spoiler alert, would you want to be in a bar fight with? Like, on your side. I feel like Joe Biden has like a switchblade in his pocket. I feel like he's definitely a dude who would like break a bottle before a guy like talks shit.
Ooh, I love this mental image of Joe Biden fighting.
I just started thinking about that by myself the other day, of him and being like a dirty fighter, like thumbs in the eyes, like straight up, like doesn't stop, like when he's on top.
I want John McCain like 40 years ago.
Oh, yeah. God, he would, yeah.
My hero.
Yeah, God.
That has to be, dude, the way Trump treated that has to be like the most shameful thing that absolutely nobody is surprised by.
I haven't been following, I mean, I don't like Trump. He's an evil guy. There are kids in cages. Well, we have to stop. But at the same time, that even after he died, he was like, nope, fuck him.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
It's just like, wow, I mean, I guess a lot of dictators do, but it's like, he sticks to his convictions, that man.
How do you feel about Trump, though? Do you feel like, well, it's a weird thing to admit that I sincerely and deeply hate Donald Trump, but also, in addition, I do think he gets treated unfairly by the media frequently.
That's such an interesting...
Hard to admit.
That's a really cool thing you said, because I feel like that's the right... Some of his supporters, you could tell, are just like gritting their teeth trying to defend him, Mm-hmm. And then people on the left, if you said he was treated unfairly, you would be a Trump supporter or a secret Nazi or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what it is. The thing I think about the most is how he got elected, because that's really what you have to examine, where like it was easy to say that everybody was racist, but he actually won a lot of districts that Obama won. And my theory for that is that people forget that Barack Obama ran under change. That was he wanted to change the establishment. Even though Obama seems very establishment now, because 8 years and some drones, he
couple drones.
Yeah, he ran against Clinton. He was the anti-establishment candidate. Just like Trump was the anti-establishment candidate, just like Bernie was the anti-establishment candidate. So I think a lot of people were just... They're so sick of shill Democrats and shill fucking Republicans. Like when people talk about the reason I would have made fun of the article I wrote 5 years ago is because whenever people go, these politicians just need to reach across the aisle. What they mean is like they want like Paul Ryan to talk to Chuck Schumer and then they agree. But it's like both of them are fucking shills. They're both corporate hack assholes. One happens to be a Democrat and one happens to be on the Republican. That's not actually going across the aisle. Going across the aisle is like you talking to your fans, talking to like real people and trying to figure out why they believe what they believe and where there's some kind of middle ground. But the reason people think that bipartisanship is such bullshit is because everyone in Washington is a fucking douchebag. And that's why Trump got elected, is because everyone in Washington is a fucking douchebag and we ran the most establishment hack imaginable. When Bernie Sanders, I think, could have easily beat Trump.
I'm really scared of who they're going to run against Trump.
The fact that there's even talk of Clinton again is the most, like, we've learned nothing, we deserve to die.
Yeah,
like,
take
the Mexican kids don't. Let them go, we deserve to die.
So many of us swallowed our pride and supported her publicly and had to act like she wasn't a horrible candidate.
I know.
And I just don't want to have to do that again. I will just bow out. I will just take a step back and be like, Trump's a dick. But I ain't supporting this bitch. It ain't happening.
No, yeah,
sorry.
100%. Where, and it's so funny because this is another problem with the left, where anytime you criticized her, they called you sexist. And that's such a fucking shitty way to... Also, I think that's more demeaning to women, being like, the woman can't handle real criticism. Like, if a guy is responsible for killing kids in fucking Iraq, I'm gonna say you're a piece of shit. If a woman is responsible, I'm gonna call you a piece of shit. I'm not gonna baby the woman. That to me is sexist, right? Also, like, how many kids did the war she support fucking, like, how many little girls died because of her? It's like, first rule of feminism, like, don't kill all the girls, you asshole. Like, that's how you do it. And so I think we need to look at that and look at why he got elected. And then on top of that, people on the left have to be more empathetic, where it's, yeah, there are a lot of fucking poor white people in this country. And if you don't focus on getting them jobs instead of like identity politics or, you know, how they're going to be able to feed their family, a Republican comes along and goes, it's the Mexicans.
Right.
And that people go, oh, well, I know the solution. No more Mexicans, right? Whether you're racist or not, you're just like, that makes sense. Whereas if you ask the Democrat, how am I going to get my job back? They go, all right, well, it's going to start with election finance reform. And they're like, but I don't care anymore. I'm not listening.
It's like, as stupid as, oh, it's the Mexicans is, it somehow to the average person, you could understand how it makes more sense to focus on actual tangible things like people immigrating into this country or like our borders and shit like that versus like a lot of the bullshit that Hillary Clinton was sort of surrounding herself throughout that campaign that nobody was trying to hear. She's just obviously not speaking to the average voter when she was harping on
and then,
bathrooms.
By the way, if you look at people are still saying that, like, going after like Jill Stein, the independent progressive woman who ran, and Susan Sarandon for supporting Bernie Sanders, where I literally, like, a couple weeks ago on Twitter, when like the resistance Twitter, the Clinton people would post like pictures of like Mexican kids in cages, and they're like, thanks, Susan Sarandon. And it's like, number one, who the fuck is voting based on like the lady from the Death Row movie? But two, I thought you couldn't criticize women, assholes. Why, if you criticize Hillary Clinton, you're a sexist? But all these women on the left are like, I fucking hope Susan Sarandon gets punched in the cunt. It's like, well, hold on, you can't be sexist towards her and not, you know what I mean?
What are your thoughts on this, the Asia Argento, how the fuck you say it?
Dude,
I can't remember.
I have stayed far the fuck away from that. I do not to comment. I mean, it's fucked up.
Right.
It's weird.
At first, I thought that this seemed like a pretty innocent thing and that it was just, you know, oh, she's a woman in her early 30s who slept with a kid who happened to be 17. And then you find out that she was like courting this kid for like 10 years since he was a little baby and shit, bro. Oh. Super creepy.
And Bourdain knew about that stuff before he died.
Bourdain paid for it, according to her. He's the one who paid that settlement because he was scared or whatever. But I mean, that's a pretty self-serving explanation. Like, no, it wasn't me. I'm not taking on any kind of guilt.
Oh my God.
That was my rich boyfriend who made me.
Right.
But she just got removed from something.
Something, yeah.
Some TV show or something.
There was even a more fucked up one. I wonder what the name is. Where
that happened to one of the girls who like went crazy, accusing me on Twitter. Some like wild ass chick that it came out that she had like been fucking with some like 16-year-old kid. Oh, and she got him to lie about it too.
There was I was gonna look it up.
I have a video in my head about this girl that I could make. But it's like, as bad as it is, like her and this other girl fucking called me out super crazy that I really feel like fucking going in on. But it's kind of like, as a YouTuber, I just feel like it's almost like unfair because if I made a video about these girls, it's like, I don't know if their lives would ever be the same afterwards. Because my audience is a lot bigger than theirs. Yeah,
that's kind of like, I mean, my deal, this is going to be way more hippie. I should just like fucking unload and like tell the truth about all those articles just so I can make that money. But the reality of it too is like, I think about that too. I'll tell you stuff off air since you read that article, line for line, like what was left out. And you're going to be like, this is fucking insane.
What was left out? Like what the editor left out or what you decided not to say?
Or well, I didn't say anything. No one wrote to me.
Oh, the article's about
me.
you.
About me. What
do you mean
like,
that was left out?
So though? Like if it said, let's take an example that wasn't true, right? Like if in the article, or that wasn't in the article, if in the article it said, you know, he asked me back to his hotel. In reality, it could be, you know, she came up to me and said, I want you to come all over my face. Can I come back to your hotel?
But that happens to you? Or it happened?
I mean, that was like the gist of part of it. Yeah, for sure.
She just told you, I want you to come on my face.
For sure.
That's lit. That's the kind of interactions I'm trying to have.
Yeah, well, here's what it turns into 7 years later, a Jezebel article. So you do not want to have them at all. So it'll make it, and it's like if they're not interviewing you, if you're not going to go back and forth forever, if someone just says he invited me back to his hotel, it's like, yeah, I guess that's the story.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it also didn't mention in the article that, like, for most of that, my wife and I were in an open relationship, so it makes it sound like I was like a cheater, which again, not a crime and not anyone's fucking business.
Right.
But it's like wasn't even true.
Right.
That's what's so fucked up about the whole thing, where it's like if all of it was true, it's still not anything that should cost someone a career. It certainly is not even close to a crime. But it's but yeah, dude. I mean, everything.
Right.
Everything gone. It was the craziest shit.
What are you motivated to work on at this point in your life in terms of like turning shit around for you? Like what gives you satisfaction, and like what do you see as things that are actual like inroads back into?
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say with you when you were like, I could unload on these people is like the thing that I think the reason that I'm starting to do better and definitely the reason I'm so happy is because I can't think about that shit. When I thought about my ex when I did shows in New York, and it would have been the first time I saw her, and I'm like, you know, when you like go back to New York or whatever, you just assume they're gonna be on like every subway, and like I was just like waiting to see her, and I was like, if I see her, I'm literally gonna be like, I really hope you're okay, I love you, and walk away. That was like I played that in my head, and I told that to one of my friends. They were like, how the fuck after what happened could you think that? And I'm like, because if I didn't, I'd go crazy.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I have to just be like, look at the good that happened in the relationship. Be like, whatever made you do that, like, I'm fucking sorry you're going through that. And I just have to like worry about my own shit. And so like the number one thing that's motivating me is trying to stick to my values even when like money opportunities come, and just build something where like the podcast, man, like I'm proud of the podcast. I feel like I'm starting to get the emails about helping kids with their depression and stuff that I used to get. And I'm trying not to make it even that political. Like I had Moby on, who's like hella political, and we talked about being insecure with girls and like relationships. Or like I had Kevin Lee from the UFC on, and we talked about, he would tell me that like he couldn't eat healthy growing up as a wrestler because he lived in such a poor neighborhood, like in the ghetto. So like if you brought a salad to his school was fucking hard. Like they'd call you a bitch if you like ate salad. And now like that guy's definitely going to be a UFC champion. And like
that amazes me when I get people who say that to me, because I like have lost a bit of weight recently, and it's like people see me eating salads all the time in videos, and they're like, you're eating a fucking salad. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is such a basic, obvious food. Like, what the fuck else am I going to eat?
I know. It's very funny.
Bread is bad.
Bread is bad, dude.
Bread is very bad. I just want to say that.
And I'll say, when I broke up with this girl, I remember having a night where I drank a bottle of wine and made 5 grilled cheeses.
That's depression.
To myself. That was not good. I was like a combination of like a housewife and like the kid she wished she didn't have, like just eating like grilled cheese without the crust and like fucking downing like a bottle of wine. And it is, if I go to say like I'll just have 2 pieces of bread, I will just go back and forth to the toaster and like go through that whole like I gotta cut that shit.
Yeah.
Out.
Yeah, I hate having that shit in my house. Like when I first started this diet, I was just like every meal, just meat, vegetables, or like in the morning I would have eggs and bacon.
Yeah.
But like then my girl she brought this like grain-free paleo granola around. It's like $10 a bag. Oh my fucking God. As soon as that was in the house, I could just not stop going back to it. And it's like it's barely like cheating on the diet, but it is pretty high calorically, and it's basically just sugar, and I would be way better off if I wasn't eating that.
Yeah. We have about the same diet right now, and I've only recently started to get like a little like bored, and like on the weekends I'll like eat bread, but then I'm just eating, like I can't just have a little bread. That's where I'm at.
Right.
Is that old age? I feel like if I was on the show 10 years ago, I'm like, I can't stop a pussy, and now I'm like, I can't stop a sourdough toast.
To me though, it's like I would feel if I like started, you know, I haven't done coke in like a fucking year. Like on New Year's, I just said, you know what, no more Zans, no more lean, no more coke, and pretty much besides a little lean, I've been good on that. But
sounds good.
Right now, like if I were to start making cocaine like a regular part of my life, like even just, you know, going out once in a while and doing coke and stuff, that sounds way healthier than making sourdough bread a part of my life now.
I know.
I would way rather do a little coke than a decent amount of bread.
Oh, we're getting old, dude. Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. I eat it and I pass the fuck out.
Yeah. My whole audience is like eating ho-hos right now. Like, you guys are fucking lame.
Stoned people talking about salad. That's the web series I'll make.
When did you lose your veganism?
Pretty much right after this happened.
Okay, so you just threw it out too?
I made this stupid joke on stage where I'm like, I'm still kind of vegan. Well, like I'm lax, like a lax vegan. I still eat honey and animals. And yeah, well, I haven't really talked about it on podcasts because like a lot of people still think I'm vegan, and I don't feel like that fucking backlash. I'm losing enough fans, but I'll say this, man. For 15 years, I told people that you can feel just as good as a vegan, and I was doing jujitsu, when I was vegan, and like competing really fucking well, and I felt great. But here's the thing. That was when I was rich and didn't have a day job. So I could cook and combine and get like the chia seed and all that shit. And once I lost that and I started working at an MMA gym for like 8-9 hours a day, my body, I was like shaking by Thursday. And dude, I ate eggs and fish for the first time after being like, yeah, of course you can be as healthy as a vegan. And suddenly I was like, I was lying.
Yep.
I feel incredible.
100%
the second I started
same
eating
experience.
eggs.
Yeah. All through high school, because I was super into hardcore, and I was like listening to all these vegan hardcore bands and shit, which is a pretty...
Chromags.
Yeah, but my main poison was Earth Crisis, like fucking late
Oh my
90s.
God, yeah.
Earth Crisis had me as like a 16-year-old working at the fucking supermarket, and I literally went from shoplifting burger patties or like microwavable burgers to shoplifting Boca patties.
Yeah, those fucking Boca patties. I remember that.
I remember walking out of there every night with a fucking frozen pack of fucking Boca patties against my waist.
That's so funny.
And especially
you were somehow hard and a bitch at the same time.
Yeah, nobody I went to high school understood what the fuck I was doing with the veganism thing when I would turn down pepperoni pizza and shit.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh my God. But yeah, I was riding BMX like every day, like fucking every day. I was going out for at least 5-6 hours of riding around with my friends and shit. And during all that, I was vegan. And then around like 18, I was just like, fuck this shit. I did it for like 3 years. And then I turned 18. I graduated high school. I was like, am I going to stick with this? Probably not. I fucking started eating meat again. Oh my God, what the fuck was I doing?
You just like level up where like, but I'll say,
and I was trying, man. I was trying to eat good. I was trying to eat a lot of protein and shit. It was.
Oh, dude. I mean, when I started, now here's the bad part. The bad part is when I was vegan, I couldn't get stoned and on my way home go to like Taco Bell. So like when I'm eating grass-fed like burgers throughout the week, and like I'll make chicken parm with almond flour and no pasta, like I'm great. But if I get like stoned now or I have a cheat meal, now I can eat anything, and everything that I missed in that 15 years I will find. So it's just like pizza, Taco Bell, like all that shit. But
for me right now, the idea of eating pizza, and like because I'm pretty sure I'm at least like a little bit lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
And for like the last like month and a half, I haven't had like any cheese. And I just look at cheese now, just like, I can't imagine putting that fucking giant pile of goo into my body right now.
That's kind of like any poison, man. Like I haven't had soda. I don't drink soda. And when I was like, oh, I'm at a movie, this will be fun, it like hurt my fucking teeth.
Yeah.
If you like wean yourself off of like toxic bullshit, like the first month sucks, but then you don't crave it. Yeah, the times I've like waited and like hadn't had pizza in a month, I don't crave it. But then I have one slice and I'm like, oh, all I'm gonna do is eat pizza.
Yeah.
My new full-time job is eating pizza.
When I was eating pizza, I was eating pizza.
Yeah.
I was eating like a whole pizza when I ate pizza.
Yeah. But I was gonna say one more thing on the vegan athlete thing. Yeah,
it sucks.
I mean, dude, I feel so much better, and I feel bad that I like said all that shit for so long. I mean, I used to. Do you remember that video that went viral? It was like the little girl, I think she might have been Spanish, and her mom like told her what meat was, and she just goes, "Mama, but I love animals," and it's like 8 minutes of her crying, saying, "Mom, I love animals," and then the mom starts crying, and then she becomes vegan, and so all the vegans like posted that video all over.
Fucking child abuse. Leave your kid out of it.
Dude, I went to Italy because my brother got married, and my nephews were raised vegetarian by my sister. Never had meat in their life. This kid's like 6 years old. He's got this like little weird like red afro, because everyone at the wedding was eating like meat, like we got the like bruschetta, is that what it's called?
Ooh, love that shit.
Yeah.
That shit is like cocaine.
Yeah. My sister was like, here's what happens. My sister goes, I'm going to let the kids try meat for the first time just because they've never had it.
Ooh.
What I witnessed was like the opposite of this fucking little sweet Spanish girl. It was like Lord of the Flies, where my my nephew takes a bite of meat. We're 6 years old, and he pauses, and he goes, meat. And then he goes, and his eyes go wide, and he goes, meat. And then I swear to God, he rips it, and he throws his hands up, and he goes, meat for all! And he starts running around, taking laps around the restaurant,
How old is he?
going, meat for all. He's like 5 or 6.
Oh my
He's
God.
asking the fucking waiter how to say meat for all in Italian. And like the rest of that trip, he was just like fucking, my sister was like, no more. And he was just grabbing meat. I thought he was going to like murder someone.
Oh my God. That's so beautiful
dude,
right there.
If I was vegan, I'd be like, I have to kill this kid. No one can see this kid.
And veganism is so full of these stories about kids who are like vegan and then they finally have meat and they get so sick and they feel so terrible. Fucking bullshit. You get that shit in your system, you'll be great.
So I thought I was going to get sick because I
didn't get sick either.
I didn't
felt
get sick
great
at all. I felt great instantly.
Yeah, me too.
Here's the thing. If I believe, I'm sure a lot of people's bodies don't agree with it, right? After it being away so long, but I think a lot of it's probably psychological because there was a moment when I was going to bed and I started to like kind of visualize like because I hadn't had meat in so long and I like thought about like the animal and I started to like feel kind of queasy and I'm like no fuck that. But I think that's what it is. I think mentally because man, I still when I like get my shit back or make this book or blow up the podcast or whatever, I'm like, there's part of me that still wants to. I still follow all my vegan friends on Instagram. When I fucking log on to Instagram and I see like the sad cow running backwards getting tased, I'm like, all right, well, I maybe when I have money, I'll go vegan again.
Right.
But yeah, this videos,
Not I.
Yeah, do not follow vegans.
I could be
on
fucking
Instagram.
Warren Buffett and I ain't fucking laying off the meat.
Dude,
Hell no.
it makes me feel really fucking good.
It's the
I was
only
really
part of the
surprised.
fucking meal I even like.
Yeah.
Like everything else is just something surrounding that chicken.
Yeah.
That is like I just ate a steak on camera, and it came with mashed potatoes and asparagus. I ate a few bites of the mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
I dealt with the asparagus.
I
dealt with it as in like I
So-
wasn't exactly loving
Yeah,
it.
no,
but,
I know,
ate
I
it.
was laughing.
But the steak was the reason I was there.
Yeah, I gotta get some fucking food on the way home now. Yeah, man. It's so back to like the goal thing. It was I think I just want to go back to being funny and trying to help people. And I don't know the route that's going to be, you know, like I'm doing a European and Australian tour in October and November. So I haven't been nothing like really in the US, but Andy and I are going to start a different podcast. I have Jamie Kilstein podcast and I've just started writing more. Right. And I think if I can just talk about just not being a dick, just not being a douchebag and you know, there's a space for it.
I definitely think if you do it right, that's like a message that the world probably wants to hear in some form. Like people probably have an appetite for hearing why the left is so fucking shitty right now.
Yeah.
In large part.
I think so too. And I think it's important. And I also think just politics aside, like focusing on like how we treat each other. And it's a hippie message, but no one's fucking talking about it. And no one's talking about. You said you have a lot of young men who listen to your show, but like, it was crazy that my old show, man. I mean, I've literally gotten like probably about 1,000 emails from people who said they were gonna like kill themselves, but my stand up or my whatever, the podcast helped them. And towards the end of the show, we were having women write in and being like, can Jamie stop talking about his depression? He's like a cis white male and we don't need to like hear about his problems. And I was like, well, fuck, I'm like helping people. It's helping people, you know? And I think for the young dudes listening to your show, even though right now on Twitter or whatever, you're being told that like being strong or like defending women or like wanting to be a provider, that doesn't mean you have to. That doesn't mean the woman's in the kitchen, but just wanting to be like, fuck yeah, I want to like take care of you. I don't think those are bad qualities and I don't think those are conservative qualities. And I think that like, if there aren't rational people telling you like to be a man and that's good, you're just gonna get a lot of like fucking charlatans who are like, be a man and like get Mexicans out of the country. And it's like, well,
exactly.
Fuck. It's like
if the only strong male voices are like basically
Donald
coming
Trump
from the right,
and- yeah.
who are actually telling you to get your shit together, if those are somehow coupled with this idea of like conservatism, because I don't want to have to like in some weird way, it feels like talking about topics like that or going more in that direction would just make people start labeling me as being right wing because I'm not explicitly
100%.
like far left.
But I mean, we have a society that like, look, when John Kerry ran against George Bush dodged the fucking draft, right? And John Kerry was not only a war hero, but then he came back. He didn't leave. He served honorably. He was awarded with medals. And then when the war was over, he protested and he threw the medals over the gates. It was like the best of both worlds,
now that's
right?
a man.
That's a fucking man. But the media was like, Bush was the tough guy and Kerry was a pussy. And it's like, whoa, you literally got America to vote for the draft dodger, the people who were like, fuck Colin Kaepernick, like, fuck Nike, like, he sat down. It's like, you elected a draft dodger over a fucking war hero. But that we let the loudest asshole shape the narrative. I think about this a lot. Like, with my suicide, whenever I'm on a show that I know there were young people, the people who are fucking depressed and suicidal and all that stuff, a lot of times are the most fucking interesting. Like the people, have you ever had like
all the best rappers are depressed and suicidal or bipolar or addicted to drugs?
Yeah. Because like we see all the bullshit that's going on and artists have empathy. And you know, so many times the people who write me about depression in their email, they're like fucking hysterical. They're really self-deprecating. They're sweet. They're talking about the only thing that's stopping them is they don't want their family to be hurt. So like they're kind, right? And I always like tell them where I'm like, we need people like you. You can't go. If you know who doesn't want to kill himself? The fucking frat boy Dave Matthews like asshole who's like doing shots and fucking punching his girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like we don't need more of that guy. We need. I actually used to really like Dave Matthews. I apologize. We used to
I dodged that bullet. I had a Hatebreed CD by that point.
Did you? Oh, good.
Yeah.
But we need the people who think that they don't have a lot to offer. Like I'm sure you've even had this like with fans. Every time someone will write me and they'll be like, hey, I really didn't want to bother you like after the show, but like just so you know, like I really love The Simpsons and jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, no, god damn it. Like you're the one I would have wanted to talk to. Whereas
Right.
It's always the people who ask you the same asinine shit or like, are you famous? And like they don't give a fuck. Those like boring people, they don't give a shit. That's why they
Right.
all succeed. And I remember Henry Rollins told me once, he goes, as long as you don't quit, there are thousands of people that quit every day. As long as you don't quit, you'll make it. Right. And he was talking about with art, with comedy, but I feel like that's also with like life, you know, as well, where it's like the people who make it the farthest are the ones that like, they don't doubt themselves. And a lot of times it's undeserved. And then they get really far where a lot of the depressed kids, they're doubting. They don't want to put their shit out there. They don't want to try because they're just like, well, I'm not good enough. And it's like, no, dude, you don't know. Like, you're the talented one.
That makes sense.
I don't know where that came from.
No, I like that for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question that's totally unrelated. At what stage in your life were you in when you got Tofu Warrior tattooed on your hand with a cartoon of a block of tofu wielding a sword?
I can tell you that. I can give you that answer, sir. It's a good question.
I got a little distracted.
It's a valid question.
But you got some other weird shit too. You got a giant like monkey. You got a pig wearing bullets.
Half of these, by the way, are vegan and or wedding tattoos. So like half of my body art is no longer applicable.
I have a lot of friends who are like a bunch of friends who have like really like a lot of joke tattoos from back in the day. Like they for some reason went through a period of time where they got a lot of funny tattoos.
It's like a huge in and out on like the back of there.
But then all these years later, it's like none of it seems funny
I know.
anymore.
You know how many times I've had a girl be like, "Oh my god, you have a penguin on your finger. That's so." Because they like slowly realize it's a wedding ring. So like I don't know what to do because my last girlfriend was really jealous and she freaked out that I had this tattoo. But it's a fucking cute penguin. So there's
You got that as like a symbol of.
Yeah, we like had like dumb little like animal pet names for each other.
That's cute.
And it's super cute. But like she hates me and ruined my life. But I'm like I can't get an X on like a little penguin. There's part of me that wants to get a different animal on each finger, so it just looks like I have like. But that's also that anyway. The Tofu Warrior, my first Muay Thai fight. We were all. It was like one of those like smoker fights. So, there was like an audience and stuff, but it was like kind of illegal. Like usually like Muay Thai gyms would like run it.
Smoker fights where there's people smoking cigarettes?
No, it's like less than amateur. And it was my first one. So everybody was like backstage in the locker rooms and coming up with fight names. And everybody had really like macho fight names like Killer or Psycho. And just because I was a vegan, I was like, do Tofu Warrior. Although I remember there was this guy who was 2 weight classes above me, and he never took group classes because he was rich. So he just paid for private lessons every day, which is like $100 a day. And he was fighting, and he was a Wall Street guy. And this is right when Occupy Wall Street was happening. And he goes, my fight name is Wall Street Fights Back. Where I'm like, oh, jeez, it's not even fucking catchy. Like, that's such a Wall Street guy's idea of being dangerous.
That's the lamest thing I've ever heard.
Wall Street Fights Back. And I stood up, and I didn't, 2 weight classes above me. I'm like, I want to switch opponents. I want to fight him. And I was like, my fight name will be, I'll be the fucking 99%. That's fine. I'll fight him. I'll beat the shit out of him. And so, yeah, that was my first fight. So then I thought it would just be cute.
That is tight.
Yeah.
What belt are you?
So I was about to get my brown belt from Marcelo Garcia before I left New York.
Oh.
And then I left New York, and now I restarted. So I got 4 stripes. I'm a purple, but I teach.
Oh, that's tight. So wait, you have to restart your whole belt when you leave school?
I mean, kind of. You have to you don't restart from like the beginning, but like the new guys got to get to know you, and like they're not just gonna like promote you right off the bat.
That's tight. So you like teaching? It's a good experience, and like, has jiu-jitsu always been a big part of your life?
Yeah, I mean
fucking brown belt.
Yeah,
what's that, like 8 years or something?
Yeah, I think I've been training for like 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, man, it's like, again, another reason I'm not fucking dead. It was the closest to meditation I could get. Like, I would try to meditate, and I would just leave like yoga or meditation with like a longer list of like anxieties, and like I would like be making just lists I couldn't check out. But when someone's like trying to choke you out or like punch you in the face, your mind really does go blank. Like it really can be, because that's the whole point of meditation, right? To stay present. And that's the way to do it. So it's kind of like my therapy in that sense. And also, I was overweight too, and like was never an athlete, never played organized sports, always pretended I forgot, like didn't have my gym clothes so I could just like get stoned and like watch kids play soccer. So it was like the first thing I was like, well, if I'm going to get in shape, I want to like learn how to fight, because I like grew up on martial art movies and I'm obsessed with them. And so that was it, man. And yeah, teaching, I feel like, was the first time that I was like, oh, this is what helping people actually is.
Right.
Like after years of being on Twitter, tweeting garbage and thinking I was helping people, and being like, sorry, I can't call my mom right now because I'm tweeting about feminism, like garbage like that. I feel like actually teaching, and like teaching kids and like adults who are really like embarrassed and nervous, and like seeing them like fucking get their first submission or just like fight really hard, is the first time I'm like, oh, this is how you actually help people. Like no one there knows what I do really, or I mean, they kind of like when I did Rogan, they did, because there's a big MMA crossover. People were like, what the fuck?
They must have been so confused.
It was super weird, and it still happens a bunch, but yeah, man, it actually felt like doing good. And it's funny, a lot of even those more conservative people I've met and stuff do a lot more charity work than like my old liberal friends. And I'm not talking about like just regular Democrats in the Midwest. I'm talking about like the sort of liberal intelligentsia, like, like pretending to be, dirty outsiders when in reality, like they're trust fund kids with a fucking tape recorder.
Oh yeah, they're all trust fund kids. That's another thing.
It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's just like, I mean, any kid who has enough time to waste on a lot of stupid shit you see people wasting time on, it's just like, there's only one explanation.
You're not
for this.
Badass throwing like a Molotov cocktail if your daddy can bail you out of prison. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my God. You know what it was too that's funny is like, I feel like I have more perspective on the insane social justice warrior shit, because when I'm talking about I was into like hardcore veganism, it's like I saw people like go to jail for like burning down a McDonald's.
Yeah.
Late 90s were lit, man.
Dude,
like hardcore kids that like I knew them, like sort of like I'd seen them around, and then all of a sudden they're going to jail for that.
There was a meme that someone sent me that was like, it was like 3 like cows or goats in front of like a burning farm, and it said like Old MacDonald had a farm. had a farm. There's just the animal standing there. I mean, dude, that's what this fucking tattoo is. Look, this tattoo is literally every animal breaking out of the farm, fucking murdering farmers.
Revenge.
Yeah, I mean, it's still cool art.
I got a burning church on my arm. That's all. No, it's this
No.
one. That's how much of a hardcore atheist I
Whoa.
am. Yeah, I don't know how well that plays in the black community
That's
necessarily.
fucking great.
I don't know. Like the church is very big, and like really religion in general and rap is like. I've kind of just shied away from even talking about the atheist shit that much, just because it doesn't feel like people are really trying to hear it.
But
that
you know
much.
what's interesting, especially with music, where like, I dig it. Like I go. You go to a black church. You go to a white right wing evangelical church. You're like, oh, this is like some cult shit, and like that dude's fucking that kid, and like that guy's definitely gay, even though he's saying they're gonna go to hell. But like you go to any black church.
Oh yeah,
dude, I'm on the fuck board. I'm an atheist. Michael Shermer's gonna do my show on Friday.
That's sick, by the way. That's fucking cool,
dude. He like, he like tweeted out my piece today, and I was like, okay.
He
like,
lives out here.
No, I'm driving very far.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, well, that's why I went to train with AKA the other day. I had a gig in Fresno, and so I went to San Jose to train with see Khabib and Fitch and like Luke Rockhold, and like it was wild.
Wow,
but yeah,
that's badass.
Yeah, I'll drive a dumb amount for the show.
Yeah, no, that's definitely worth it. I would do that. I almost drove 8 hours to the Bay to do this one interview with like a journalist at one point. Though when I think about it, like a rap journalist, not a dickhead, because like anybody who's not a rap journalist is probably a weirdo. No, I take it back. That sounds crazy,
dude. The only rapper I've opened for is Talib Kweli, and his like being around rap. That was the first time I was around like rap posses, and like if you're around a bunch of comedians and a comic's up on stage, all the comedians are going to be in the corner like, fucking hack, goddamn, look at that stupid joke, and then we'll leave and like go outside. But like being around like a rap, like where they're all still just like on stage, just like smoking weed and like chilling, like everyone was very, very nice.
I was going to say, normally when I'm with rappers, like we don't watch any of the openers or anyone who plays afterwards either. Just completely focused on yourself.
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
All right, then maybe this is just a good group of people.
I'm saying that Talib Kweli and them must be nice. By the way, he is the most far gone of the social justice warrior lunatics on Twitter, bro.
I unfollow. I doubt he follows me anymore.
Talib Kweli is the only rapper who has beef with Sam Harris.
Well, isn't it funny though? Like that's kind of great that he's like an intellectual about it, where instead of calling out other rappers, he's like,
"No, you're right. That's
like that's cool badass."
Yeah.
But like that would be like the equivalent of like if a right-wing rapper was like, "Hey, come at me, Noam Chomsky," you know what I mean? Like that's fucking hysterical.
That's
would be
awesome. So amazing. Holy shit, my fingers are crossed.
Well,
I get to see that day.
Can we make that album? Can we make like just like go after obscure intellectuals?
Oh yeah, definitely.
We have to do it, or at least a video.
Most rappers don't even know that like the far left shit exists, to be honest. From my experience, is that like the average rap fan is pretty much in the dark.
That's got to be a great place to be for them and for you.
Yeah, it's all right. It just feels like kind of like I was saying to you in the DMs. I feel like sometimes like rap is sort of like a free speech movement that doesn't identify it as such.
So I was brilliant
because there's so much stuff that rappers talk about that nobody else in our society gets to talk about, and for some reason they get a free pass on talking about violence, talking about women, and describing it in like actual ways that they mean. I mean, that itself is just not. It's like, okay, candid descriptions of sex or like courting a girl or going out and meeting girls, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that just doesn't fly in a lot of circles now, even though it's like the most basic human behavior.
That's a really fucking good point. That's a really good point where even so many of those like romantic comedies from the 90s wouldn't fly now.
Oh
John Cusack holding the window or the boombox above the window, be like, that fucking stalker. Like, you know what I mean?
And even if it's not explicitly offensive now, they would just say it's
problematic
or it's tone deaf.
Oh god, that's the worst. That's
tone deaf. Like you don't even have to do anything wrong. You just have to.
I wonder. I mean, you're right. I wonder why it doesn't happen in rap. Even like I still follow a lot of progressive Twitter because I'm afraid to unfollow them.
Well, you want to know why? Is because all those people are fucking afraid of saying anything negative about some little young black kid.
Well, that's what I was wondering because I like occasionally like Eminem, they'll be like he said something homophobic because they can do it with him. But it's so funny that like that progressive Olympics where it's like the offended sort of like, okay, well, this guy is saying bad things about women. But he's black, so like we can't do that. And it's like, and they have to weigh out like oppression versus oppression and be like, which one is worse? When it's like, why can't we let's just call out the bad thing. Let's call it the bad thing when a white liberal does it. Let's call it a bad thing when like a black dude does it, or if a woman does it. You know, if Hillary Clinton does it, like let's just fucking call it out. I feel like people, they don't have principles anymore. It's just like, what is my team doing?
Right. But you know what? The other reason they won't do it is because they know that none of the rapper's audience cares, and they know that the rapper doesn't care.
So it won't go anywhere.
It's just not going to go anywhere.
Dude, that's got to be a great fucking place to be, where they can just say whatever the fuck they want.
You know what's funny is that there has to be like a very specific set of circumstances in order for there to be this like coordinated effort. Example one that comes to mind: Rick Ross. I put a Molly in her drink. She didn't even know it. Sort of rapey. I agree. A weird lyric. Didn't really surprise me from Rick Ross, but Rick Ross was like sponsored by Reebok at that time and like said something about Reebok in like the same stanza, and it just was like that. They made a thing out of it, and Reebok like fired Rick Ross, separated from him, never actually separated from him. He never stopped getting paid. Everything kept going. And like a few months later, he was just like doing the stuff he was doing with him before. The other example that comes to mind is just like Offset. He said in a song like, you know, and if you listen to how the Migos rap, they're just saying a bunch of bullshit. They're just, you know, they're just sort of, they're in the booth, they punch in, they're just saying, blah, 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 da, 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 whatever. And there's one song where he just goes, I do not vibe with queers. I do not vibe with queers. And that got him, bro. But think about why. It's because he's Cardi B's husband.
Right.
You know, if it wasn't for that, then he's just another rapper from Atlanta, and they're not going to have, you know, they're not going to call him out.
I also love for homophobia nowadays that was still very tame. It wasn't like, get rid of the queers, I'm going to beat up the queers. It was like, just in case you guys were wondering, I don't vibe with queers.
Yeah, I don't vibe with them. Yeah.
So
you don't got to get
funny.
rid of them, but not really my
so
thing.
low key. Yeah. If like, yeah. I support him. Just I wouldn't spend the day with him.
Funny too, coming from a dude whose career was basically jump started by a song where he just repeated the name of a gay fashion designer over and over and over, and that was the entire chorus.
Oh, interesting.
Versace.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Huh.
But you know, I don't.
What if right now he's listening? He's like, Versace's gay? No.
I don't think most rappers are that concerned with the sexual orientation of the people. You know what? This is like every rapper too. When you talk about gay shit now, they're like, "Hey man, it's cool. Whatever you want to do, just don't do that shit around me."
It's so funny. I love when guys say that. Like where like I've heard a guy be like I'm cool with gay people, like as long as they're not trying to suck my dick. And it's like, did someone try to suck your dick?
Is that a
like,
problem you have all the time?
They act like they can't walk outside with just like a bunch of gay people with their mouth wide open.
Get out of here.
Get out of just jumping out of the bushes everywhere.
Yeah. I assume that probably happens.
I mean, God, I hope so. We'd live in a better world if it did.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, we are at 1 hour and 40 minutes. So I guess we should probably wrap this up. You got any things you want to shout out or anything?
Well, I need a girlfriend.
Wow.
So I would say
for the 4 women who are watching this right now. No, and all the 4 women who don't work at BuzzFeed who are watching this right now.
Yeah, and they're just like, perfect. We've been waiting for this.
Our shout out.
The podcast. I really want to build up the podcast, which you have to come on.
Oh, yeah,
which is Jamie Kilstein Podcast. You can subscribe for free on iTunes, Stitcher. Twitter's at Jamie Kilstein. Instagram's weird. It's like my cat and then me with MMA fighters. But it's my happy place.
I feel like comedians have a hard time on Instagram.
They do.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
We're not attractive people.
I'll forever see like a dude on Twitter who's got like hundreds of thousands of followers as a comedian, and then I look at their Instagram and they got a little 4K.
Oh, yeah, I'm like verified with, dude, fucking, my Instagram's so sad. I'm verified on Facebook, which is the same goddamn company, and they won't verify my Instagram. Where they're just like, I don't know, man, that's a lot of your fucking cat. But my Instagram, you guys, if you want to help that out, is Jamie Kilstein Podcast.
Gotcha. It's on the screen. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate it, man. It was a good way to get to know you. This is right back to why I started doing this podcast. Just a good way to have a conversation.
That's what I was saying before the show, man. Yeah, like it's honestly like it's my favorite way to like make a friend. That's why I only try to do like I don't do podcasts I don't give a shit about. Where I'm like, I just like making friends and having it on record.
Fire. All right, appreciate you, man, and good luck with your endeavors.
Thanks,
hopefully, you guys get to see me on his podcast soon.
Yes, and then we'll do jiu-jitsu too.
Oh, I'm super down. That's what we got to do.
Okay.
No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. Check us out on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes,